Good morning. Nehemiah 11. The walls of Jerusalem were built, the gates secure, and the people of Israel returned to the city. But even in a physical restoration Jerusalem had been accomplished, Nehemiah knew that work wasn't over. The city needed faithful, devoted people to live in it, to take care of it, and to continue God's work. In Nehemiah, we find that Nehemiah making an important decision. The city of Jerusalem, though physically restored, was still lacking. There were a few people living there to ensure that the city would thrive. Too few would ensure the security in future. But Nehemiah had a plan. The plan to require, encourage, commit, and sacrifice. Nehemiah called for volunteers to settle in the city. This wasn't a simple task. Jerusalem was still vulnerable, and many people preferred to stay in a surrounding village where life was easier and safer. But Nehemiah knew that for the city to thrive, they needed to be a willing community, a group of people ready to invest in its future. And so the people did what they had to do. They answered the call. Families, leaders, priests, and Levites, each for their own reasons, yet united by a common purpose. They were not for promises of riches or comfort. They were the promise of privilege of being part of God's work and being part of something bigger than themselves. In a way, Nehemiah was building more than just a city. He was building a community. A list of names follow in Nehemiah may seem like a simple record of what was, but they represent the heartbeat of the people. They weren't just the names, they were the individuals who were committed to rebuild not just the physical city, but to establish a community of faith that would be lived out in God's purpose in Jerusalem. The volunteers didn't just move into Jerusalem, they began to invest in the city. They brought their skills, their trades, their gifts, and they worked together to make the city thrive, a place that was a symbol of Israel's restoration, but a home where God's people. Nehemiah 11 shows us the importance of God's work in our lives and in our communities, and our church requires participation. It is not enough to admire the work from a distance. We are called to be active participants. It is easy to sit back and hope others step up, but God calls us to step into the work ourselves and be part of the community He is building. What part of God's work is calling you to participate in? Maybe it's your church, your family, your community. Are you willing to step up and invest even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain? Like the people in Nehemiah's time, we have a role to play in God's story. This week, take a moment to reflect on where God is calling you to be more involved. What can you do to contribute to the work of God's kingdom in your community? And remember, like those who volunteer in Nehemiah's day, you are not just building a place, but a community that reflects God's love and His purposes. Share this message with someone who needs encouragement, and let's work together in faith, ready to answer God's call to rebuilding His kingdom, one step at a time. You have a blessed, wonderful day. Sorry I was sick. There was a delay. I'm feeling better now. Not all the way there yet, but getting there. God's willing, we'll rebuild 2025 together.